when the young kids on the street found out that I was working on Star Wars. I was like a god to them. Those kids are now parents. They've seen the movies throughout the years. There's always in the back of their mind like, oh wow, I remember playing with the Falcon. I remember playing with the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter. To understand that you have a small part of that kind of bigger world is pretty cool. My name is Mark Boudreau, and I've been fortunate enough to work on Star Wars toys since 1977. The amazing thing about Star Wars, I don't think it's really ever gone away. It's always been there. Vehicles has been sort of what I really am the most passionate about. TIE Fighters, X-Wings, Rey's speeder. I've always built models, built planes, cars. So they said, hey Mark, why don't you go ahead and start working on the Millennium Falcon? And I said, like, sure, why not? The Millennium Falcon is more than just a machine. It really is a character that helps save the day. It's more than just a hunk of junk. We wanted to be able to provide an experience that could extend from the film. So when you went to go see the movie, you come right back and you're playing with Luke, you're playing with Han, you're playing with Chewie, and you're able to relive everything that you saw in the film. Long after I've gone to the Force, wherever that might be, this product will still be there. Grandkids from now will hopefully still be enjoying Star Wars. And we certainly want to try to do our small part into making sure that that continues.
It starts with a yes or no question. Does she have a crush on me? Will I pass the test? Will the Mets win the World Series? While they may not have always predicted the truth, Magic 8 Balls are actually inspired by a real-life clairvoyant.
Do you want to hear your fortune?
In the 1940s, Mary Carter was a popular medium, best known for her mysterious fortune-telling invention. It was called the Psycho Slate, essentially a chalkboard with a cover. When the clients would visit, Mary would ask a question to the spirits. The room would fill with the sound of scribbling, and then, just like poof, magic. Mary would reveal answers from another world mysteriously written on the chalkboard. Mary's son, Albert, was inspired by his mother and created his own truth-seeking device. But this time, you didn't need a psychic to tell you your fortune. He put a pair of worded dice inside a tube filled with molasses. Each end was clear so you could read the answers. Sound familiar? Albert hit the streets. He partnered with a couple local businessmen and opened a novelty company where they specialized in the miracle home fortune teller. After he died, Albert's partners took over and redesigned the project numerous times. They ended up with a crystal ball-like shape with a die in the middle, and a billiards company took note. They needed a promotional item, so they replaced the crystal ball with the iconic black 8-ball. The promotion was so successful that they rebranded the Magic 8-Ball, this time marketing it as a fortune-telling toy. Today, kids are still using Magic 8-Balls to ask for their fortunes. And for that, you can thank Mary the Clairvoyant.
Ah, yes.
Ralph Waldo Emerson once quoted that nothing great can ever be achieved without enthusiasm. I have a lot of enthusiasm. This is Northlands in Flemington, New Jersey. Northlands is the world's largest model railroad. Well, I guess, everybody has a passion for something. My thing was trains. I had trains around the Christmas tree as a kid. Wherever I lived, I'm planning track plans. And then over 18 years, I added 5 basements onto the house. And from that, I got fairly good at making mountains and bridges and design work. And we decided to give it to the world. So we tore it all down, bought this land, built Northlands. Any given day, we run between 85 and 90 trains. Some of the details in Northlands inside, about 40,000 feet of track, about 4,000 buildings, over 400 bridges. Many of the mountains in here are 3.5 stories high. Most things in here are scratch built. Underneath the entire superstructure, there's enough lumber to build about 42 large houses. It takes a few hours to go through for the average person to see everything. We went millions into debt to build this place. Everybody thought we were nuts. And the only one that believed in what I wanted to do was my wife, and she was totally with me on this, big time. It's an artistic endeavor. It's a gift to the world of what I can do, and it makes a lot of people happy.
When you tell people that I run a slot car, they go, "What? What's that? I never heard of that before." When they first do it, they go, "Wow, this is fun." I am Buzz Frank Perry. I am the proprietor of Buzzorama, the slot car racing center of the world.
On your marks, get set, go!
Slot car racing is a hobby sport that's participated in all over the world. In 1965, it was my hobby. I was one of the first to open in New York. There was 48 places like this in the city. Today, I'm it. I'm the lone survivor. They have 12-volt DC motors in them and a guide flag that fits in the slot. And when you hit the hand controller, it energizes those lanes and gives the motor juice. The fastest cars can go upwards of 100 miles an hour. So they're like blurs now. You have to hear them. You go, wing, wing. You can hardly see them. You have to listen to them. You go, wow. Kids play with computer now, and there's no interaction with anyone. Over here they have interaction with other drivers. They compete, they congratulate each other. You learn sportsmanship. It's really great. Just watching the cars go around the tracks pumps up your adrenaline, and you get all excited, and that thrill never leaves you. You always think about it.
Silly string, that bright, fun, party in an aerosol can, was actually invented by mistake. Believe it or not, it was supposed to help heal your broken bones. In 1972, Leonard A. Fish, an inventor, and Robert P. Cox, a chemist, were granted a U.S. patent for a foamable resinous composition. The two initially set out to create an aerosol can that could spray an instant cast on a broken leg or arm. And the invention worked. But when it came to packaging their discovery, they tested 500 different types of nozzles. Through their tests, Fish came upon one that produced a string that shot 30 feet across the room. Inspired, they decided to turn their instant cast into a toy. After altering the formula to produce a more colorful, less sticky string, the pair set out to market their product. Neither of them knew the first thing about selling toys, so they made an appointment with Wham-O in California. But the meeting didn't go exactly as planned.
Oh, please.
Fish and Cox sprayed the string all over the office, including on the person they were meeting with. And unsurprisingly,
Get out!
they were asked to leave the premises. Just one day later, Fish received a telegram from Wham-O asking him to send 24 cans for a market test. Turns out that a trace of the silly string was left on a lampshade in the office, and was later spotted by Wham-O's owners, who themselves demanded a market test immediately. 2 weeks later, Wham-O signed a contract to license the product now known as Silly String.
There's this amazing picture of my coworker. It's him reading a Ninja Turtles book lying next to a Super Soaker. When the Super Soaker came out, it was a game changer. The slogan, "Wetter is better," was essentially a mantra for kids during summer break. So when I went to Atlanta to interview the guy responsible for all that, I had to show him the photo.
That's funny.
Lonnie Johnson invented the Super Soaker back in 1982. But that is not his only invention.
Well, I have over 100 patents.
everything from the Nerf gun to a thermoelectric energy converter. He also worked on NASA's Galileo mission to Jupiter and alongside the US military.
The first Super Soaker actually I made in my shop in my basement in the evenings when I would come home from work. And at the time I was actually working on the stealth bomber program back when it was highly classified. And I actually couldn't even tell my wife what I was working on during the daytime. It was that top secret.
The original name for the Super Soaker was the Drencher.
We ran into a challenge regarding the name because another inventor claimed it. So we changed the name to Super Soaker just to avoid having to deal with that.
Super Soaker is definitely a way better name. When he started, Lonnie wasn't trying to create a toy for kids.
I was working on a new type of heat pump that would use water as a working fluid instead of Freon. And I was experimenting with some nozzles that I machined. And I shot a stream of water across the bathroom, and I thought, geez, maybe I should put this hard science stuff aside and work on something fun like a water gun. It still works.
And this brings me back to a previous point. Lonnie Johnson is a super genius scientist. This is his lab. And this is what he's working on now.
Yeah, right now I'm working on advanced battery technology. My goal is to develop a battery that will store about 3 times the energy of a lithium-ion battery.
In comparison, the Super Soaker might not seem as hard science, but it was still a really, really important invention.
I'm the first woman to graduate with a doctorate from Juilliard, and now I play the toy piano. Life works in mysterious ways. I have transformed the toy piano into a real instrument. To play the toy piano well, you have to practice on it every bit as hard as you would on a normal piano. In fact, I think you have to work even harder because the action is so primitive. You can make it sound beautiful. You can make it sound convincing. It's a bit like going down the rabbit hole and taking your audience with you way back down this avenue to your childhood days. Once a skeptical person comes to a toy piano concert that I give, I'm able to turn him around. It's a whole extended family now of people into toy pianos. It's a fearless little band who are willing to stick their necks out for toys.